Hola familia, una vez más soy Carlos Vides con Mentes Innovadoras y espero que este año ya haya empezado para usted con todo un éxito y que todas las metas que usted se puso a principio de este mes, del mes de enero, que ya usted vaya en rutina y que ya se esté acostumbrando a las cosas nuevas del 2021 para que así este año cuando lo terminemos sea excelente, que usted logre todo lo que quería lograr. Una vez más, Carlos Vides con Mentes Innovadoras y esta semana le traemos algo excelente, una invitada pero muy buena. De una vez les pido que saquen pluma, un papel para que empiecen a anotar porque van a aprender mucho de ella. Pero antes de presentar a mi invitada, también vamos a dar la bienvenida a Amanda Villarreal, que ahora es parte de nuestro grupo también. Amanda.
Familia, un placer estar aquí con ustedes una vez más. Siempre un placer acompañarlos y siempre contenta de traer tanta buena información para ustedes. Y el día de hoy me orgullece presentarles a nuestra gran amiga Karen Felsch. Ella es la presidenta de la organización de SCORE.
Así es.
Y la organización de SCORE, el capítulo de Kansas City, tener una mujer con tanto año en el mundo corporativo y traer toda esta información a ustedes significa mucho valor. Así que contentísima de introducir a nuestra gran amiga Karen. Karen, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. We are very excited to have you today and learn more about you and what got you here to Kansas City and now with your involvement with SCORE.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah. And I also like to say thank you for allowing us to, for taking the invitation. I know you're really busy. This morning you've been in several Zoom calls and running all different kinds of shows, and you took the time to come and talk to us a little bit about it. So I hope that we leave some good information to the public out there so they can learn about what your organization can do for the community.
Absolutely.
But before we move into business, let's talk a little bit about you, Karen.
Sure. Sure.
We're not going to get too personal.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But we might. We'll see. We're going to try our best.
And then we got to check the Spanish levels.
Yeah, un poquito.
Un poquito.
Yo hablo un español un poquito.
Un poquito de español.
Well, you've
Yeah.
had the opportunity to travel all over the world, so
That is true.
I am sure you've been exposed to the language.
I have. I worked in Latin America. I worked in Mexico y Argentina y Venezuela. And I traveled to Spain, to Barcelona. And I also, for pleasure, my daughter and I went to Santiago, Chile, where my sister-in-law and brother-in-law live.
Oh, that is
So,
wonderful.
and he's Chilean. So.
Yeah, Chilean.
So we're starting with all the travel that you've done. So tell us about Karen. Mm-hmm. And I know that before we started the conversation, you were sharing with us that your mother is Japanese.
That is correct.
And your father is?
My late father was of English descent, so Anglo-Saxon. But yes, my mother is Japanese. She's a naturalized United States citizen. They met in Japan. So during occupied Japan, my father was a soldier there and met my mother there. So yes, my mother is an immigrant.
So you are a little bit of what they call the military...
Brat. That's right. That's right. Army brat.
Army
my
brat.
my father was Army, and so yes, we traveled. I was fortunate enough to live in Japan. My brothers and I, and my whole family, we lived in Japan as children. So lived there for 4 years. And my claim to fame, if you have it, is I moved 16 times by the time I was 16. So lived mostly in the United States, but as I said, lived in Japan.
So as a kid, how was the adjustments and different schools and all those type of things?
One of the things I'll tell you is there are kids when you're in the military, there are kids who blossom. And, I learned to be outgoing, and I'm certainly not a wallflower. I learned to tell people what I think. And so for me, it was wonderful. My brothers, same thing. They, in fact, served in the military. So for me, it was wonderful. And I liked meeting new people. And I luckily learned the skills of meeting and getting acquainted with people very quickly. So that was good.
I definitely, the first time I came to my first meeting, I think you were the second person that I met because Ed brought me in and you just came up to me and immediately invited me into the organization.
Absolutely. Well, you perhaps do not recall, but we had met before because I have participated in the Hispanic Collaborative Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Biz Fest for high school kids.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
I've actually mentored for them, volunteered a couple of times, and
so
we actually met before.
Yeah, how about that?
Yes, Carlos didn't remember, but that's okay. That's okay.
You were in the at the Biz Fest.
That's right. That's right. 4 years.
Yes.
And I hope to do it this year.
I started mentoring at the Biz Fest by accident. And that was in 2010, I think it was, 2010, at the school over there in 103rd, somewhere there. So were you at that one? Or?
No. I moved to Kansas City in 2014. So
okay.
I think my first exposure to Biz Fest would have been like 2016, perhaps.
So you've been with our community for a minute.
A little bit, you know, on the edges.
Yeah.
You know, I have to tell you this great story. So Gabe Munoz, I'm sure you know Gabe. He and I met at a business event, and he at the time he was with the Hispanic Chamber, and he invited me to some Hispanic Chamber events, and I told him, I said, Gabe, I'm actually half Japanese. The funny thing is I speak more Spanish than I do Japanese. And he goes, oh, you're invited. Everybody's invited. We love everybody. And I said, yes, that is one of the things that I love about the Hispanic community, the Latin community, and having worked in Latin America. Sure.
So have you been to Venezuela?
I have been to Venezuela. I spent a couple of weeks in Caracas while I was, at the time, I worked for a large company. I was an internal auditor. So computers, so computadora, auditor. Yeah. So the fun thing about that was I really practiced my Spanish. I'd studied it in high school and in college and was not fluent in any way. I classify myself as socially conversant at best. But I studied really hard, and when I went to Venezuela, I did not get an interpreter. And I was very proud of the fact that I spoke to the manager of the IT team, the computer team, in English, because his English was excellent. And I spoke to his team in Spanish. And I was able to, I remember one meeting where I was sitting in his office, and I spoke to him in English, and I turned around and spoke to his programmer in Spanish, and it wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. I got the job done. That's right.
And the reason I asked to mention the Venezuela part is because our community here in Kansas City, it is growing really fast on the Venezuelan side, and there's a lot of business opportunities. So the community, they're starting to open business and all those type of things, which is something we're going to talk about in a minute. But
sure.
I want the Venezuelans up there to know that we have now somebody that understands a little bit of Venezuela.
A little bit. So.
Well, you're well versed in all the cultures. So clearly, being born to a Japanese mother,
that's right.
You understand the importance of our immigration here in the U.S.
That's right.
And making sure that we have the right systems to support that community. Not only that, but you're also so well versed with different personalities because you were forced to, right?
Yeah.
and what I see as well, and I can see why you ended up in corporate America and being in corporate America so long, is that they built you tough. Like
it's true.
They did, right? With all the movement that you had to do for the first 16 years of your life, I can't imagine. I mean, you had to become very strategic about packing, unpacking, planning, meeting new people, getting adjusted so quickly to different environments, which people that succeed in corporate America are the people that are able to do that. You need to be adjusted right away.
I will also say, though, small business, the flexibility, being flexible, being open to new opportunities, all of those things make small business people successful as well as being successful in my corporate life.
Yeah.
So
yes,
because you have to be able to adapt.
That's right.
And especially right now, talking about adapting right now, what we did 2 years ago, even maybe a year ago, is not longer the thing.
That's right.
We have got to come up with new ideas. And
COVID certainly has provided challenges to all of us.
Yeah. So. But also give us an opportunity.
Absolutely. It's interesting because as I work with SCORE clients, we actually have some SCORE clients whose businesses have taken off.
Yes.
during this time of COVID.
Yeah.
And they were able to, utilize the difficulties that occurred. They were actually able to use that in their business and provide services and goods and services in ways that pushed a little faster than they perhaps wanted to, but those who were prepared and had already been thinking or had already been doing e-commerce, for example, they were able to turn on a dime and really, become successal during this difficult time.
The panel that you had on the meeting today was very interesting. You had some very, very good successes as a result of all the work that you guys do.
So Carlos is talking about this panel of clients. So we had what we called a client success panel. It was in one of our regular chapter meetings. So it was for SCORE volunteers and SCORE mentors. But we wanted to hear from 5 businesses that we work with. And so we brought in the principals, the owners of 5 businesses, and they were very different businesses. Yeah. And they talked about some of the assistance they've gotten from SCORE, some of the things that they've learned. And we asked them, what can we do better? Because we always want to improve. We want to do a better job with our clients. And that was really, it was wonderful. It's heartening. I was like so jazzed because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go talk to my clients, and I've got some new ideas. And so that's definitely.
So let's go ahead and backtrack a little bit and give our viewers the opportunity to learn more about SCORE.
Sure.
So who is funding SCORE? What do they do? What's the goal?
Okay.
Their mission?
Right.
And what's your involvement specifically with SCORE?
Okay, so the SCORE Association, we are a group of over 10,000 volunteers nationwide in, I believe it's 265 chapters now. So the SCORE Association is funded by Congress. We get about $12 million this year to help us with our mission, and our mission is to support vibrant small business communities across the nation. And we do that. We're like, in Kansas City, we only have volunteers. We have no paid people. The only paid employees within SCORE are at our national team that supports the volunteer organization. That's, I think, like 27 people that support over 10,000 across the nation.
It's big.
Yeah, so there's a lot of volunteers, and some still work. So like Carlos is one of our volunteers. He's one of our mentors, working full time. And then we've got people, I'm sort of semi-retired. And then we've got other people who are retired now full time. And so you've got a range of volunteers. And the common thing with all of us is we want to give back. We want to give back to our community. Amanda knows I spent about 30 years in corporate America, and after working in corporate America, I had all this bag of tools, these skills that I wanted to help other people with. Sure. And even in my corporate world, I will tell you that one of the things that I got joy out of was mentoring, was helping particularly young people, younger in their career, who wanted to gain new skill sets and get success, whatever they define success is. Sure. And that's one of the things I tell people is it's really important. You define success. I'm not going to define success for you. You need to define what is success to you, whatever that is. So as I said, the SCORE organization, we've got chapters. So we've got the chapter here in Kansas City. Interesting party fact for you is that we are, of course, the Kansas City Metro, not one of the largest metros in the United States. But we, as a chapter, are the 15th most active chapter in the country in terms.
That's why I'm there.
Exactly. So we are here all about helping our community. And the thing I love about Kansas City is that there's so much support for entrepreneurs. There's such a fabulous. I mean, you start with the Kauffman Foundation and many other organizations that support entrepreneurs in our community. So
let's break down a little bit about what is your typical client. And I have one myself that I worked with him yesterday. We were on the phone for about 2 hours. I can talk about this one, or you tell me what a typical client is for a community up there that is saying, what is that? What exactly they do? How can I approach them? They're being intimidating corporate people.
Not all of us are corporate, thank goodness. We do have small business entrepreneurs in our membership also, but I don't know that there's any typical client. But what I will say, many of my clients are literally the brand new small business startup. They don't know how to get started.
Yeah.
They have an idea. They may not have, explored much. They need to understand, well, should I be a sole proprietorship or should I be an LLC? What paperwork do I need to file? What business licenses do I need to get? So we've got folks at that end of the spectrum. And then I do have some clients who are currently in business who are wanting to improve their business, grow their business, get more revenue. Yeah. So for me personally, I would tell you, because I do actually mentor quite a bit, even though I'm one in the leadership of the chapter. I deal with a lot of the early phase folks, which I actually love because it's important for me to help people understand. And I tell people, I'm like, look, you need to get that mentor from the very beginning. Yes. Because we can help you do things and help you get through things much quicker. There are times when, you don't even know how to get started. Well, go to someone who can help you get started. And why learn all that hard stuff for yourself the hard way? So that's one of the things I think is really important about SCORE.
So you're defining dreamers.
We have dreamers,
yes,
absolutely.
So dreamers that say, I've been working for a staffing agency for the last 10 years. I think I can go and open up my own staffing agency. And they can come to you and say, here is what I'm thinking. And you're able to say, perfect. You are the owner of the future company. Let's go ahead and put all of these tools within Access that will help you carry on the plan and actually, open up your staffing agency or whatever business that might be.
Yes, that's a great scenario. I will also tell you there's the scenario where someone thinks they want to start a business. They don't really understand what it's going to take. And having them decide this isn't for me and deciding that before they've spent a lot of money and not been successful. So one of the things that I think is really important to understand, and that's why I said it's important for the client themselves to define what their success is. Sure. I can think of a client where that person had already spent some money and wanted to build an app. Okay, so my background is actually information technology, computers. And I wish he had come to me from the very beginning, because he spent some money with a company he found on the internet, wasn't based here in Kansas City, basically kind of threw his money away. Well, I told him, I don't tell you what to do. I ask you questions. I want you to think through. I'll say, okay, have you thought about this? What are the implications of this? So my role is to guide you. I don't tell you what to do. At the end of the day, you own your business. You need to decide what it is that's important to you. So after working with this gentleman for a number of months, he came to the conclusion that the app, because I was trying to help him understand, okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost to build the app, and who are you going to sell it to, and really getting it down to who's going to pay for the app and how many of those apps he's going to have to sell to be able to make money. And so once he worked through the economics and decided, and he did explore talking to people that would, the application he was talking about would have been sold to companies for use by their employees. He came to the conclusion that, perhaps this is not the right thing to do. And I said, how do you feel about what you've learned? I've learned a lot. I'm glad I worked with you. This isn't the right business, but in the future, I know how to get started. And then, when I want to start a different business, I know to come to you from the very beginning.
He gained some wisdom.
He gained some wisdom, and luckily didn't spend a whole lot more money, that wasn't the right thing to do.
That's the area that we keep talking about it in our meetings, how people goes out and say they see somebody making a lot of money out of something, and they think that's the dream business they want to go in as well themselves, and they start putting money into this business. A month or two later, 3 months later, they find out that that's not what they want, that they don't even like the business, they're into it. And that's the unfortunate thing.
I'm working with a client who has a corporate job, is looking to open his own business. And we've been working together on the planning side for quite a while. And just at our last meeting, he said, I'm not sure I want to do this. I'm like, that's okay. You decide whether you want to do this. You need to explore it more. But you've been fully employed. You're exploring this, and you make the go, no-go decision, right? So that's that's of value. And no matter what, he's learned things, some more information on business planning and marketing and social media marketing and things like that he's learned along the way.
And that's another thing too. I'm glad you touched on those little things, because based on my experience that I've been working for the past 18 months, actually, I've been volunteering my time.
Right.
I had clients that have called in asking for just to learn about cash flow in their business. They've been in business for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
Sure.
They still don't know what a cash flow is.
Exactly.
And they don't know how much profit they make, nothing. So that's simple. To me, it's like, that's a very simple thing, but to them it's a big deal.
Yeah. What I would say is it's not necessarily a simple thing. What we need to exercise, and Amanda and I had this very conversation. We sometimes take for granted, having come from a corporate environment, people were doing those things for us, right? Yes. And so we sort of took those things for granted. Well, as a small business owner, that's all on you. And you need to know, are you making money? Are you actually making a profit? If you're going to take out a loan, can you service that loan? Can you pay that loan back and still make the kind of money that you need to make? Yeah. And so I think those are really important concepts. And people shouldn't be afraid to say, hey, I don't know how to do something. Yeah. Acknowledges you don't know how to do something and figure it out. And we've got people that can help you figure it out.
Get a mentor.
It's pretty amazing. So I myself, I've been working with thousands of businesses my whole career, and there's a passion for small businesses, especially. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of minority-owned businesses, from female entrepreneurs to people from all over the world, and they have this big vision, this dream, and they've always been employed. So they've always had that security of that paycheck every week or every other week. And they've been really, really good at their trade, but they've had everyone else doing everything else. And so that's when they decide they want to go into their own business, right? Well, the transition that one needs to make from being an employee to be an entrepreneur, it is major. And if you don't have the right mentorship that will guide you through it and put the right people, connect you with the right people, the success might be very limited.
I almost feel like that's like a kid moving out of their parents' house.
Yes. No, that is so true.
There's some truth. There's some truth in that.
This, and I'm paying attention. I got a kid that is 20 years old. And I'm like, she's maybe feeling she's ready to move out, but maybe she's not.
Are you talking about your daughter?
Well, that's the thing. You want to make sure that your daughter has the right skills before she cuts the tether, right? Yes. So and that's one of the things that we ask people, like, okay, we really recommend, depending on what kind of business you're talking about, we really recommend, if you can, start it as a side gig. Yeah. Start it at, while you're employed, do this on the side, or at least do the planning on the side, because you need to build up your reserves, your cash reserves, your money, and you need to decide, okay, I'm going to give it 6 months to accomplish these certain goals, and then basically make that go, no-go decision. Yeah. So you really, one of the things that we see with, I'll say naive dreamers, is that they don't understand that, and we saw this with COVID, to be honest, with existing businesses. They really need to have at least 3, 6, frankly, conservative as I am, 12 months worth of working capital to ride you through the rough times. And when you are starting up, it is not uncommon for a business to take a year or 2 to see a profit. Absolutely. And so what are you going to pay your bills with during that time? If you're lucky, you might have a spouse who's employed and has agreed to you being an entrepreneur, which is really important. Have family support, absolutely. And so those are some of the things that we try to help people understand about being an entrepreneur and getting started. And I love the folks who get started and immediately become profitable, but they're the exception, not the rule.
Now, we've been talking about all of this, and I bet the people up there is going to be very happy to hear, oh my God, all these ideas and all this help and all this. How much does it cost?
We are free. Free and confidential.
So, es gratis y confidencial.
That's right. That's right. So, as a SCORE mentor, I have a pledge. I sign a code of ethics I go through every year. And basically we say we will keep things confidential. Now we do talk to other mentors if there's a topic that comes up and, hey, I've got a client, da, 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 da. But within, so I'm very careful. I would not name client names unless they specifically gave me permission. And so like today, in our chapter meeting, we had 5 businesses. They talked about their businesses. And of course, we asked them ahead of time, would you participate? Can we talk about your things? But free and confidential, as I said, we donate our time. There are several of our chapter members who, like one of the people who comes to mind, actually 2 people that come to mind, their background's social media and marketing. And they do that as a business, but they also volunteer and they provide that consulting skill within our chapter. And we do have a rule that says if you are a mentor and somebody comes to you and wants to hire you, you cannot take them on as a client, or you have to quit. Score. So we don't do, you're not allowed to do lead generation, that type of thing, because we are here as free resources to get people started, to help them improve their businesses. And we have this saying, it's called for the life of your business. So from the very beginning, from the idea all the way through exit, whether that's you sell your business, you shut down your business, you transfer it to family members, whatever that happens to be. So we are here for the life of your business, no matter where you are.
And I know that as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about how can this conversation be beneficial to the community. And you just mentioned all these things you talked about. We also need to talk about that we need more mentors.
We do.
Especially bilingual mentors.
Absolutely. I would love to have a cadre of bilingual mentors, or at least I'll call subject matter experts, people that are Spanish speakers who have experience in a particular industry, who don't necessarily want to or don't have the time to be full-blown mentors, and because it's a commitment. I not only have to set up the appointments and have the appointments, I then have to do the record keeping to make sure that as we work with a client, especially let's say I work with a client and then they decide to either get a different mentor or they disappear for a few years and come back. That happens too. We need to make sure we keep the records. Well, that means me as a mentor, it takes me a little bit more time to do stuff.
Bringing this subject to life. As a mentor, Amanda, so I feel like I'm learning more than what I'm giving, because it's so much to learn in this group of people. Every time you're in a meeting, everybody has all this experience, and you are there to share what's going on, but you just give me. And it's all free stuff. So for those of you up there that have some kind of a skills that you feel that you have maybe a few hours for free for the rest of the month, become part of this mentorship. And when you give, you receive more. So if you give 25, you get 100 back. That's the way I feel. And that actually has changed my life. Since I became a mentor with them, I have learned, my gosh, encyclopedias of the stuff. And it helps me personally.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think it's extremely beneficial because you get to interact with a lot of people with lots of knowledge. They have many years, many people that have retired. And so they've seen a little bit of everything. The other thing that I want to make sure, I know that we're running out of time here, but I do want to mention that SCORE consistently provides a lot of content. There are different sessions that are provided for marketing, for sales, for how to understand your cash flow, so accounting, finance, and so on. It's a big, it's just a wonderful organization that provides so much information.
And now we have it in Spanish.
And now we have it in Spanish.
We are actively trying to make sure that we've got Spanish versions of many of our materials. We don't yet have the capability to do workshops in Spanish, although if I had bilingual mentors, we would certainly look at that. But
no pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at Amanda going,
no pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah.
But we do here locally. We do for the last 2 years, we've done 85 workshops a year. And for an all-volunteer organization, and our speakers are not typically paid. They volunteer their time also. So to your point, this Saturday, as a matter of fact, we are doing a financial series. So we're starting with the concepts, the financial language, if you will. Sure. And then we've got a financial statement basics class, and then we've got a sources of funding class, and then we end the day with a financial projections class. Oh, and so all about financials, we do that series every 2 months. And so, you know, the gentleman, one of the people who teaches the financial projections class, he is in fact a CPA. And so it's wonderful that we've got that. We've got social media classes. We've got video marketing 101. We've got HR 101 and 102. So lots of different topics. And we're continually looking at what classes do we offer and what new classes do we need.
Excellent. So, excellent. Well, we are out of time. This is
this is the beauty of these sessions. We bring amazing people like you, Karen, that are just providing a wealth of information to our community and all of our viewers. And so where can we find more about SCORE, and what can we do as a community to help you?
So kansascity.score.org. That's our website, and there you can request a mentor, you can find our workshops, you can also find other materials like blog entries and articles, and oh, by the way, our national organization does webinars too, so again, free, and they have recorded webinars, so you can actually get those. We are, as we said, we're looking for subject matter experts, we're looking for volunteers of different types, workshop presenters, the behind the scenes administrative folks that help us, that do the registrations and things like that. So, and not to be crass, but we actually do accept donations if you're so inclined.
Hey,
last year we had a business that actually donated quite a bit of money to us. So
there is that opportunity up there as well.
That's right.
Well, again, thank you. Thank you for coming. And,
absolutely.
We'll definitely stay in touch and see how we can support the community and SCORE as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But thank you so much, Karen. It's been a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlos.
Well, I thank you very much, Karen, Amanda. Thank you for being part of this project, and you thank you for being with us today, sharing such a great information. And thank you all you in the community for watching this program. We are Innovative Minds TV. Somos mentes innovadoras y estamos aquí para usted. Siempre estaremos presentes trayéndole buena información, personas que tienen mucho conocimiento en el área, en la comunidad, que nos puede ayudar, que nos puede servir para que así usted encuentre áreas como esta gratis. Imagínese gratis con toda esta ayuda para manejar su negocio, crecer su negocio. Come on. Nos vemos pronto.